Hey everybody, Mr. Makerspace here. I've really been looking forward to doing a video on 3D printing, but not under these circumstances. As you all know, the COVID-19 pandemic has been a huge problem for the medical industry, and medical professionals have expressed a need for a variety of medical supplies. Things like surgical masks, face shields, ventilators, respirators, and makers all across the country have been stepping up and doing what they can to help. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at a 3D printed visor face shield. So let's get started and see if we can help make a difference. Okay, so I've got our Lulzbot turned on here. Right now it's loaded with a spool of PLA filament, but I'm a little worried that the PLA might be a bit too brittle and won't have the flex that we're gonna need. So we're gonna switch out our PLA and do our first test print with some ABS filament. So let's go ahead and switch out the filament real quick. Okay, so here we've got a fresh roll of some ChromaStrand ABS. So let's go ahead and load in our filament. Okay, there we start to see our old kind of turquoise blue filament leaving the extruder, and then very soon this should start to turn purple. Okay, so we have fully purged the old filament and we're ready to print with the new. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to open up Cura. That is the software that we're going to use to 3D print our visor here. So we are going to be saving to removable drive here. We want to make sure that we are selecting our ChromaStrand ABS. Cura does the slicing, says that it's ready to save. It's estimating that it's going to take 1 hour to print. I'm not going to change any other settings. Going to save to the removable drive here. Now we'll eject. We'll plug in our SD card to the side of our machine. And in order to help us remove our print job from the surface, we're actually going to coat it with just normal Elmer's glue stick. So we're going to go ahead and give it a generous coating to help allow the 3D print job to separate from the build plate nicely. We don't want to break it when we're removing it. We want it to adhere well to the build plate. We don't want it to curl as it is printing and cooling. So we've applied our Elmer's glue. Okay, we're going to print from SD and we are going to select the North American visor frame. Okay, so we're starting to get some of our visors off the 3D printer now, and just like I expected, the visor that was printed in PLA broke before I could even take it off of the build plate. I knew going into it, I was really worried that the PLA filament wasn't going to have the flex that we needed, but if you look at the ABS visors, there's actually a great deal of flex and give to these. So we're definitely only going to be 3D printing in ABS from now on for our visors. Okay, so right now we have our paper template for our visor shield, but this paper template is not going to be enough for what it is we need to do. So what I did was I just grabbed an old piece of paneling that I had lying around, and we're going to use a little bit of spray glue here. And we're going to put our template on our piece of paneling here. And after this dries, we'll then cut out the template, but instead of it just being a piece of paper, it's going to be a piece of paneling, which will be a bit more substantial and easier to work with. Okay, so we've got our template secured, so let's go ahead and use our jigsaw to cut it out. Okay, so now we have a substantial face shield template that we can use to lay on top of sheets of plastic and mark the plastic and then cut it out. So here's our master template now. Okay, so now we have our face shield template, and I have a sheet of plastic here. It came out of a 24 by 36 inch poster frame. I'm not sure if it's plexiglass or some sort of poly, but it's clear, it's flexible, it's thin, so we're gonna use it. So let's put our template over here towards the edge and then trace it with a magic marker or a Sharpie. Okay, now if everything works as planned, we cut out this plastic with X-Acto knife, pair of scissors, and we'll probably use a drill again for the holes here. Hopefully everything lines up, and hopefully this will work as our face shield. Okay, so again, we would typically do this with a laser cutter, but since we don't have one of those available, we're gonna improvise here with just a pair of scissors and see how this works. We might also try an X-Acto knife, depending on how these scissors do. So yeah, you can see that the plastic kind of just wants to chip as I cut it. So we might have to experiment with that a little bit to figure out the best way. So let's go ahead and drill our holes and then see if this will attach to our visor. Okay, so here we have our first functional full face mask that could be used to help prevent the spread of infectious disease. Now, there's already several different things that I would change about the design to make it better. Obviously, this is not the best plastic for this face mask. It would be better if we could find a plastic that was a little bit thinner, just a little bit more flexible. That would also make it a little less brittle around the edges. If I had to continue using this type of plastic, I would probably do kind of like an assembly line type thing where someone would cut out the plastic with scissors and then they would hand it off to someone that would use a Dremel to buff the edges smooth to get rid of any chips or cracks or anything like that. But other than those issues that we will work on adjusting, the 3D printed face shield was a success. So, great news. Thanks everyone.